Rain fell hard over Seattle that evening, sharp and restless, as if the sky itself was in a hurry. Emily Carter walked through the glass doors of the downtown building with steady steps, her coat damp, her face calm. Inside, people moved fast, voices low but tense. Something important was changing, and everyone could feel it. Emily felt it too. She had accepted the role just 3 weeks earlier, stepping into a position many wanted and few believed she could manage. She did not arrive with loud promises or bold speeches. She arrived early, listened carefully, and worked without drawing attention. That quiet way unsettled people. Some mistook silence for weakness. Others feared it hid strength. By the end of the first week, whispers followed her down hallways. Emails came with sharp edges. Meetings paused when she entered the room. Emily noticed everything, but she did not react. She had learned long ago that reacting too quickly gave others control. She had not always been this composed. Years earlier, Emily had been someone who explained herself too much, who tried to be understood by everyone. That version of her had grown tired. Life had taught her that clarity mattered more than approval. She had faced loss, disappointment, and long nights of doubt. Each experience had shaped her into someone quieter but firmer. That evening, she stayed late at the office, finishing reports while the city darkened outside. Her phone vibrated on the desk. A message from a board member questioned her decision from earlier that day. The tone was polite but heavy with doubt. Emily read it once, then locked her screen. She leaned back in her chair and looked out the window. The rain blurred the lights below, but the city kept moving. So would she. When she finally left, the air was cold and fresh. She walked a few blocks to a small bookstore cafe she had discovered during her first week in the city. It was quiet, warm, and smelled of paper and coffee. It felt safe. That was where she met Daniel, right? He was sitting near the window, reading, unaware that his life was about to shift slightly, quietly, without warning. When Emily asked if the seat across from him was free, he looked up and smiled. It was an easy smile, honest and open. They spoke without effort. About books, about cities, about how Seattle rain felt different from other places. Daniel had recently moved from Vancouver, carrying his own reasons for starting over. He spoke calmly, choosing his words with care. Emily noticed that she also noticed that he listened fully, without interrupting. Time moved fast. The cafe began to close. Outside, the rain softened. As they stood to leave, Emily's phone buzzed again. Another message. Another question about her authority. She slipped the phone into her pocket without reading it. Daniel noticed. Work? He asked gently. Yes, she said. Always. They walked out together, steps slow, conversation light. At the corner, they paused. Emily felt something raise, a pressure. No judgment. Before they parted, Daniel said, "You seem like someone who stays calm when things get loud." Emily met his eyes. "I've learned how to stand still." She walked away before the moment grew heavier, not because she was afraid, but because she respected silence. Over the next days, pressure at work increased. A senior colleague challenged her plans in front of others. Another sent a long email questioning her experience. Emily answered clearly, without anger. She focused on facts, not emotions. Some noticed. Others did not. At night, she returned to her quiet apartment and thought about how strength often looked boring from the outside. She thought about Daniel too, and how calm conversations could feel like rest. They met again that weekend. A walk through the city, coffee by the water. Words came easily, but neither rushed them. Emily felt something opening inside her, slow and careful. Still, she kept parts of herself guarded. She had learned to survive alone. Depending on someone felt risky. One evening, as they stood near the pier, watching ferries move across the dark. "Water," Daniel said. "People seem to expect you to prove yourself all the time." Emily smiled slightly. "They always do." "Does it bother you?" She considered the question. It used to. Now I know I don't owe everyone my fear. Daniel nodded, understanding more than she said. Later that night, Emily received news that the nonprofit would expand operations into Canada. It was an opportunity, but also a test. More eyes, more opinions. More pressure. She stood by her window again, city lights stretching far below. Her phone lay silent now. For once, the noise had faded. She was not afraid of them. What unsettled her was something else entirely, the quiet thought that letting someone see her beyond. Her strength might be the hardest challenge of all, and as rain returned softly too, the city Emily understood that the real story had only just begun. The mornings came quickly, bright and cold as Emily Carter settled into her new routine. The expansion into Canada had brought opportunities she had long hoped for, but it also brought challenges. Every day seemed to carry a weight of expectation. She moved through her office with the same quiet confidence, greeting colleagues with polite smiles, answering questions with precise calm, and never letting frustration show. Some watched her with admiration, some with doubt, and some with quiet envy. Emily had learned that people could project whatever they wanted onto her. But she remained unaffected. Daniel kept in touch, his messages steady and warm, offering comfort without pressure. They met often when she could spare the time, taking walks along the waterfront, sharing meals in small cafes, or just talking under the soft glow of streetlights. Each conversation with him was a reprieve from the storm of work, a chance to breathe. Yet Emily always kept her guard, a quiet wall around her heart. She had learned that even those who seemed gentle could hurt if trust was given too freely at work. Tensions increased. Board meetings became exercises in patience and diplomacy. Some questioned her ideas openly, challenging her every move. Others whispered critiques behind her back. Emily listened, absorbed the feedback, and responded with careful logic. She knew that reacting with anger or frustration would only give others the satisfaction of control. Instead, she chose clarity. One evening, after a particularly grueling meeting, she stayed late at the office, reviewing plans for the new project. Her phone buzzed with a note from Daniel. Simple words that reminded her she wasn't alone. "You're stronger than anyone. Knows, don't forget that." She smiled quietly, a rare softness breaking through the usual calm. The days moved quickly. Kay and Emily began to realize that strength wasn't just about handling criticism or work pressure. It was also about understanding what she valued and what she was willing to fight for. Daniel became more than a friend in that understanding. She noticed how her chest warmed whenever he laughed, how her thoughts lingered on his voice even after they parted, how the world seemed lighter when he was near. But she also recognized the risks letting herself feel too much could mean opening up to disappointment. Emily had faced enough challenges to know that the heart could be fragile if not protected. Then came the offer that would change everything, a chance to lead the project in Toronto. It was a prestigious opportunity, a milestone in her career, but it came with a cost. It meant leaving Seattle, leaving the comfort she had built, and perhaps leaving Daniel behind. She weighed the choice carefully. Her heart wanted what was right, not what was easy. She knew that taking the role could mean growing even stronger. But it could also test the quiet bond she had begun to feel with Daniel. Daniel noticed the change in her demeanor the night she received the offer. They met along the waterfront, the city lights reflecting in the water, the air crisp with winter chill. She was quieter than usual, her eyes distant, her mind clearly occupied. He asked gently, "Something's different tonight. What's on your mind?" Emily took a deep breath. "I've been offered something, a project in Toronto. It's the kind of opportunity I've been waiting for, but it also means leaving. It's not just about the work, it's everything else. It's the life I've built here, the people I've grown to care about." Her voice trailed off. Daniel nodded, understanding the weight of her words without needing every detail. "And what does your heart say?" She looked at him, searching for an answer she wasn't sure she could give. "It says I can't ignore this chance. But it also says that some things matter more than success. Some things matter more than moving forward alone." They walked in silence for a few moments, the sound of water and distant traffic filling the space between them. Emily's mind replayed every moment with Daniel, the gentle conversations, the quiet laughter, the sense of safety she felt without realizing it. She realized that handling storms and criticism at work had taught her one thing: true strength wasn't just about surviving. It was also about knowing what or who was worth holding on to. Over the next days, Emily focused on preparation for the new project. Her schedule was full, her mind sharp, but Daniel remained in her thoughts. She found herself smiling at small memories, feeling the ache of longing even as she organized meetings and reports. Every challenge at work reminded her of her own resilience, but it also reminded her of the vulnerability she felt towards someone she cared about. Finally, day came to make the choice. Emily stood by her window, looking at the city stretching out beneath her. She thought about the rain, the lights, the conversations with Daniel, the endless nights of planning and perseverance. She thought about the opportunity waiting in Toronto, the chance to prove herself in new ways, the excitement and risk that came with it. And she thought about Daniel and the quiet, steady presence that had begun to feel essential. Her phone buzzed with a message from him. "Whatever you decide, I'm here, always." She smiled softly, heart pounding in a way that surprised her. It wasn't fear she felt, it was the weight of choice, the thrill of possibility, and the quiet pull of connection. Emily realized that she could handle storms, criticism, and challenges. She could face the judgment of others, navigate the pressures of leadership, and stand strong on her own. But the hardest challenge wasn't at work, and it wasn't the critics. The hardest challenge was the choice between ambition and something more fragile, more tender, more real. Emily understood that true strength was not in handling everything alone. It was in understanding what was worth fighting for, what was worth protecting, and what was worth risking everything to hold on to. She picked up her phone, her fingers hovering over the screen. Knowing that the words she sent could shape not just her career, but the course of her heart. As the night deepened, Emily made her decision. She would take the project in Toronto, but she would also let Daniel in, allowing herself the risk of connection, of companionship, of something tender and real. She realized that life's storms could be faced alone, but certain moments, certain hearts were worth facing together. She sent a message to Daniel, simple and honest. "I don't know what's ahead, but I want you to be a part of it." The reply came quickly. "Then we'll face it together." Emily felt a warmth she hadn't expected. For years, she had stood alone against criticism, challenges, and doubt. For the first time, she realized that strength was not just about handling storms, it was about choosing what mattered and allowing someone to matter to her in return. The city outside glowed softly, the lights reflecting on wet streets. Emily Carter, quiet, confident, unafraid, finally understood that the hardest battles were not always in the workplace. Sometimes they were in the quiet decisions of the heart. And sometimes choosing love, companionship, and connection was the bravest thing anyone could do. She closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the distant hum of the city, feeling both the excitement of what lay ahead and the certainty of someone who would stand by her side. The storms of life could rage on, but she was no longer afraid because she knew now that facing them together could make even the hardest challenges feel manageable. And as the first snow began to fall softly over the streets of Seattle, Emily smiled, a quiet, firm smile, ready to step into the next chapter of her life. Unafraid, strong, and open to the possibilities of the heart.